Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance. There's only one video left in the queue, so anything with contribution will be pretty much immediate. This video is sponsored by contribution from Shay, and here's her story. Dear Ollie, it's Shay again. You've done two videos for me. One about a Cluster B coworker titled The Narcissist Comes From Real Life, and a second video about the soon-to-be ex titled The Narcissist Never Wants to Share Their Toys. I really enjoyed your analysis of both stories. I'm hoping that you could look at the NPD aspect as well as the political side of my story. But first, just a bit of background about my current situation. I left the ex 4 years ago. A week after I was gone, he moved his side piece of 3 years in with him. I'd found out about her 2 years earlier, and he'd promised to stop seeing her. One evening, she showed up at her front door, probably hoping I'd get mad and throw him out. I didn't know who she was or what she looked like. When I answered the door, all dressed up in a good mood, it really must have ticked her off. As she walked away, I asked her who she was, and she turned around in an overly dramatic full swish and said, "Obviously nobody." I'm certain the ex put her up to it. He'd begun throwing away everything and everyone with both hands. Their affair broke up her marriage, and they wanted to be together. It only took 10 months of actually living with the man and getting the full Cluster B treatment before she was posting poor me memes on 3 of her 5 Facebook profiles. Never once did she post a photo of him or of them together. The poor ex, now he's all alone. Too bad. So sad. Yeah, because some women only want to break up marriages. That's just, they're bone collectors. They're bone collectors. They're not even about, see, and what proves that was her reaction to you when she saw you. Because it's about a competition. It was about getting him away from you. And only getting him away from you. Not actually being in a relationship with him. Since the ex's side piece was a runoff, those are ex's words, not mine, he's tried everything to get me to come home. He's been dying of 2 different terminal diagnoses and almost left his foot rot from an untreated infection. He texts me and includes photos and short videos of his latest health issues. Please come home. I need you. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Go call your hoe. This is from a brute who never got sick or played the pity card. His latest self-diagnosis is several symptoms of stage 4 prostate cancer. No video sent to me for that, thank goodness. I told him that just because he can't get an erection doesn't mean he's dying. Oh, Lord. When I tell him to prove it up and show me a pathology or a doctor's report, he goes quiet. He'll reemerge a week or so later with a flirtatious text gag. Just block him. Just why are you even dealing with him at all? He hasn't been near me but one time in 4 years, and only for 10 seconds. I'm so ninja. And only one single phone call when he lied the first time about dying. Otherwise, it's written communication, only so that he can't lie. Okay, good. I sent him a meme recently when he flirt texted. I'm not saying I hate you, but I'd unplug your life support to charge my phone. You talk about making mad. I absolutely love being almost single again. I've had a few dates, but I just can't give up my autonomy, my freedom. The man lives with someone else while married to me, and I'm supposed to forgive and forget. The real world doesn't work that way. He tells me that I never loved him. Well, no, not anymore, I don't. This is what I'm dealing with. He refuses to get an attorney or participate in the divorce. Our sons don't want to hear about the divorce or deal with him and all the lies. They're all grown and now I've stepped away as the family buffer between them and their dad. Talk about a lot of complaining. But hey, Mama's free. Heck, we're all free. Listen, after all these years, I mean, you're basically divorced anyway. I think after, 7 years, you can get an uncontested divorce in most states. So that just might be, what has to happen. Okay, so here's my story. Thanks, Ollie. Quote, you're not voting for Geraldine Ferraro. Chauvinism was alive and well during the 1984 presidential election. The ex and I weren't married at the time, but had been living together for about 4 years. His opinion of women was that they should keep their mouths shut and what were they cooking for dinner. I'm not, nor I ever been, interested in politics. I do love political satire, especially from some of the U.S. presidents. Who can forget Gerald Ford butt-bouncing down the last few steps of Air Force One in 1975, or when George Bush bumbled the phrase, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. The confusion on his face and his weak comeback was priceless. And the latest was President Trump having tissue stuck to his shoe. A most humbling experience that happened to me during high school while on a double date inside the lobby of a movie theater. My date's best buddy, Mike, noticing the squares of toilet tissue trailing behind me as I came back from the ladies' room, started laughing and asked me, hey, Shay, who's your friend? I love that guy. In November 1984, I was 26 years old, and it was my first time ever to vote in a U.S. presidential election. I was so excited because a woman, Geraldine Ferraro, was Walter Fritz Mondale's vice presidential running mate for the Democratic Party. God, did they not have a chance, though. Not even because, she was a woman, just because Reagan was just... he ended that. Reagan ended that campaign with when they were questioning his competence and at the debate, and they were saying, are you too old? And he got real stern. He got real stern face. He's like, I will not for political purposes make age an issue in this race. He goes, I don't care about my opponent's youth and inexperience. He goes, I will not make my opponent's youth and inexperience an issue in this campaign. And everybody, that was it. It was over. Everybody broke up laughing. The moderator was cracking up. He even made he's like, well, I was like, I'm not going to try to save that one from going over the fence. That was it. That was it. Campaign was over. It was, because that's all they had on Reagan at that point, was that he was incompetent, just like they're doing the Trump. Same thing they're doing the Trump. Incompetent, he was out of his faculties, he couldn't do the job. So a woman could actually be vice president of the United States by the end of the day. The ex had graduated from the IBEW apprenticeship 2 years before. The IBEW unions are hardline Democrats. Union members and apprentices were sent monthly newsletters showing which Democrat candidates the IBU supported. The ex was voting a straight Democratic ticket and encouraged me to do the same. We were both registered Democrats, and we'd gone together to vote in the Democratic primaries. For months, he talked about the negative effects Reagan would have on the unions if the Republicans won a second term, as they're working. As Reagan is putting all these unions to work, with Buy American and all that. Unbelievable how these union leaders, it's unbelievable how these unions brainwash their members. For Mondale. Oh my God. The morning of the elections, I was in the kitchen saying goodbye as the ex was leaving for work. As he opened the sliding glass door to leave, I gave a fist pump and said, Geraldine and Fritz, yes, by tonight there's going to be a woman in the White House, and she won't be cooking or doing the dishes. Woo-hoo. The ex stopped dead in his tracks, turned around, and his whole demeanor changed. He stepped back inside the door. You are not voting for Geraldine Ferraro. The hell I'm not. You are not voting for Geraldine Ferraro. He's annoyed and I'm confused. You can't tell me who to vote for. Anyway, Ferraro's been on the Democratic ticket with Fritz, Mr. Union Man. You've been talking about this for months. Here's the big lie. The union members are voting for Reagan, not Mondale. That's what I thought. That's what, in the back of my mind, I'm like, the unions were pretty pro-Reagan. If his union was stupid enough to not be backing Reagan, that's why I thought this was going. That is, because the unions generally, because he was putting them all to work. The union members are voting for Reagan, not Mondale. Now I'm really confused, not buying it. That's bullshit. He's dead-eyeing me, and I could see that he's more than serious. He doesn't waver a bit. I'm voting for Reagan and Bush. We are voting for Reagan and Bush. Yeah, even though, because maybe the IBEW newsletter, their union leadership wanted the members to vote Democrat. But the union members knew, fuck that, we're working. What are you, nuts? I mean, they were seeing through it in the 80s, which is why they were trying to make Reagan incompetent, see him incompetent. I'm voting for Reagan and Bush. We are voting for Reagan and Bush. Well, maybe you are, but I'm not. Anyway, last I heard, only one person's allowed to be in the voting booth. So if anyone's going to be in the booth with me, it's going to be Geraldine and Fritz, not you and the union. The ex was pissed, but thankfully had to leave for work. My boss was letting us off early at 3 to go vote. Our office was three Democratic women, 2 Republican physicians who were married to each other. All right, yeah. Our office was 3 Democratic women and 2 Republican physicians who were married to each other. If Reagan and Bush won, we'd buy lunch for the doctors. If Mondale and Ferraro won, not only would the doctors take us out to lunch, but we also choose the restaurant and order whatever we wanted. Steak, lobster, all around. Yeah, they knew that bet was they were never going to have to pay that bet. It was all in good fun, and everyone left the office in really high spirits. I mean, they didn't threaten to fire you if the wrong candidate won. That's crazy. That's nuts. When I arrived at the church where our voting precinct was set up, here came the ex walking up behind me. He wanted to vote together. He guided me along and stood behind me in line so that I voted before him. We signed in, were handed our ticket, and then he asked me, "You're not still voting for Ferraro, are you?" I didn't answer. When it was my turn, I voted for Geraldine and Fritz and came out smiling. My first vote for President of the United States. Woohoo. We walked to our cars and the ex was furious. This was his livelihood I was messing with. How could I have voted against a union that supports both of us? You can't imagine the shitstorm. For weeks, everyone was told what a backstabbing bitch I was for voting against him in the union. He never said that I voted Democrat or Republican, or that I didn't vote for Reagan, that I just voted against him and his precious union. He never mentioned Ferraro's name, or that my vote for Ferraro was the problem. That's how he got over on me. I was taught that your vote was your own business and you didn't have to share that information with anyone. That's why there was a curtain to protect your privacy while voting. By refusing to discuss who I voted for, he got away with treating me so horribly. So back today in 2019, I knew the ex had been lying, but I never thought of getting the monthly IBEW newsletters as proof. There was no internet back then. I'd have been too afraid to show them to him anyway. To keep the peace, I've always avoided the topic of politics, religion, sex, and definitely money. Not too long ago, I thought about looking online for PDF copies of the 1984 IBEW newsletters. There they were, the top IBEW International Union leaders shaking hands and supporting Mondale Ferraro in the 1984 newsletter. Democratic ticket all the way. That's what I thought. I thought the union members were going against their union. See, I'm almost at the bottom here. What was all the fuss about? I wanted my vote to help get a woman, Geraldine Ferraro, in the White House. For me, 30 years later, sweet validation. We've come a long way, baby. Thanks, hugs, Shay. Well, I would push back a little bit here, Shay, and I'm not saying you did this as some kind of narcissistic plot at all. What I do think, though, this is because you don't really understand politics, and I don't even think you understand how the union works and the whole union mentality works. You know, legitimately, when he was saying, when you vote, because he was so bad, because he was such a misogynist, okay, he couldn't even explain to you why voting for Mondale and Ferraro does hurt him personally. Because it would have taken his job soon. They would have taken those union jobs sooner. The fact that the union themselves, understand something, the fact that the union themselves were telling them to vote for Mondale Ferraro, which I knew they probably did, but it's always been the union members who defy their union. I mean, the union, just when you see at a Democrat rally some firefighters union for Biden or for whatever Democrat candidate, understand something. Those aren't the rank and file firefighters. Those are the union officials. Those are the union officials who are fleecing the union members. The problem is you can't openly badmouth your union because they'll fucking destroy you. They'll destroy you. So the union members had enough sense to know, fuck this. Like, I'm not voting for who these guys tell me to vote for. And that's what happens in a lot of unions. The members don't follow what the union tells them to do. So when he's saying union, you're defying the union or you're hurting the union, he's not talking about the people producing the newsletters, the officers of the union. He's talking about the members like himself. And because he couldn't explain this to you, say, listen, Mondale and Ferraro are going to take jobs from us, bottom line. Because he couldn't sit there and tell you, you know, like, we have to stand against. We have to stand against the union heads, but we can't tell them we're standing against the union heads. Okay? A vote for Mondale and Ferraro really was a threat to their livelihood. Legitimately it is. But because he was such a narcissistic pig, he can't even defend himself when he legitimately needs to. Because, like you said, you don't know about politics. You don't really understand politics. You don't follow it. You just wanted to vote for Geraldine Ferraro because she was a woman, which is your right to do. But so just any woman? Any woman? I mean, if that was the case, Hillary Clinton should be president, right? She should have been president in 2008. And Geraldine Ferraro was, I knew a little bit about her. She was from, I think Queens. But politically, she wasn't capable for that to be the vice president either. She would have been another Sarah Palin, for real. I mean, she was a nice woman. Excuse me, decent congresswoman, but what was her criteria? You know, what was she running on? What were you voting on her for? Just because she was a woman? Listen, it's your right as an American, but it's the wrong reason to elect anyone to anything. So I understand why he was upset, and he went about it completely in a fucked up way. But yeah, I mean, if you're living together and you're going to, obviously you married him, okay, voting for Mondale and Ferraro, like, really is voting against yourself, is voting against him and his fellow union members who are trying to keep working. But he couldn't articulate that past Geraldine Ferraro. So even when the narcissist, legitimately needs something, they can't articulate it in a proper way. It's nuts. So I hope that helps. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you, Shay, for another contribution and story. Thank you to everybody watching. Let me know what you think in the comment, any comments or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, or you'd like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.